I'm Ursula Le Guin, and I write novels and poetry.
Ursula, what do you think you might take away from this gathering, this encounter with the mountain and recovery that would inform your work?
Well, I've had an ongoing relationship with the mountain since before she blew. Our house looks out north from Portland to the mountain, our bedroom window. So Mount St. Helens would be the first thing I saw when I woke up for over 40 years. And of course it was the beautiful Fuji cone to start with. And then we had the eruption, and we had a front row seat on the eruption. And it was an enormous event in my life, that eruption. I feel it, I kind of hope it's the biggest thing I will ever see. So with a couple of friends, Hank Pander and Ron Cronin, artist and a photographer, we wangled our way into the red zone that fall after the eruption. I can't remember whether it was September or October. So I was here when it was at its most terrifyingly destroyed looking, when this world here, with all these flowers and willows and little trees, it was all gray. It looked dead. It was devastation on an enormous scale. One had to think of Hiroshima and things like that, and then realize the size of this was just out of proportion. To come back 25 years later with this group of scientists and poets, I can't really tell you what it's going to mean to me, because it takes me ages to absorb something like this. But I know I got a lot to absorb, and that it's good stuff.
Does it work into a fictional interpretation somehow?
Probably not. More likely, well, you know, everything a writer experiences goes into the fiction. But something like this is probably more over on the poetry side.
So is there it must have been heartbreaking to see it all blasted. Is there also a hopefulness?
Well, there was even then, because even after a few months, as several people here have even so soon, there would be in this endless devastation of sort of dirty gray ash, there'd be a little tiny vetch flower or a pearly everlasting poking through, or under the shadow of a log would be a seedling tree. And you saw even then, hey, this is not the end of the world, although it looked like it. This is a process. This mountain's done it before, and she'll do it again. And you know, it's the way St. Helens runs things. She takes them apart and puts them back together. But it really, it was wonderful to come back and see how, it never occurred to me how fast the regrowing of living things would be. That in 25 years we have basically a green landscape again. Wow, I didn't know that. So that was great.
This bringing together of scientists and artists, writers, do you see some alchemy happening there? Do you think that's a productive thing to do?
Oh yeah, I think scientists and artists belong together. That the whole myth of the two cultures is much exaggerated. Scientists and poets are trying to describe the world as accurately as they can do. And the scientists do it more in mathematical terms. That's kind of their big tool. And poets, the big tool is the language of the emotions. But the two things, they need to fertilize each other. And this is a wonderful example of what happens when you let scientists and poets really talk. Not lecture at each other, but just talk together.
Stay, eat together. And
Yeah,
sit around
yeah.
the campfire.
You have there has to, and there have to be silences, which is something we don't often allow each other, ourselves.